All right, next up, we're just going to give some examples of different types of acids. As you continue on your chemistry career, you'll gain better skills to be able to look at a molecule and to determine its properties. But for now, we're just kind of going to give you the answer, and we're not going to touch too much into why is this acting as an acid. But remember, an acid is something that donates H+. Sometimes you'll hear this being called an ionizable hydrogen, right? So we can make it into an ion, an H+. And what happens here, right, is in the example of HCl, but any acid, basically the same thing happens, is that we have some sort of bond between hydrogen and generally an electronegative atom, and the bond breaks, and both of the electrons, remember a bond is 2 electrons, go to the other component, and the H+ is left by itself. Right, so those 2 electrons became these electrons. So the electrons in bond go to Cl, right? That's always going to go to your conjugate base. And basically for this reaction to occur, this charge, right, this negative charge must be stable as a negative. And so the more stable it is as a negative, the more likely this reaction is to occur, and the stronger your acid is. These, if you look at them, what these atoms are, right, what other components are bonded to hydrogen in acids, usually it's a halogen, so fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, or the other popular one is oxygen. So they're generally halogens or oxygens. Let's go ahead and take a look at different types of acids. So our first type of acids are binary acids. The most common ones are HF, HCl, and HI, but there are other ones like H2S, not nearly as strong of an acid as the other ones, but yeah. We already learned the nomenclature, right? These are hydroblankic acid, right? Hydrochloric acid, hydrofluoric acid, hydrobromic acid, hydroiodic acid, right? We can add HBr there too. But you see, either way, they're combined with 2 different types of elements, hydrogen and then some other element. The next type are oxyacids, which you might guess have oxygen in them, but there's other parts to them too. So for example, H2SO4, sulfuric acid, is a popular example, and HNO3, nitric acid, is another example. You can tell there's a hydrogen, right, because we need that to release the H+, and there's a bunch of oxygens. If you were to take a look at the Lewis structures of these components, and I'm going to not draw the lone pairs, so I'm missing lone pairs here. I'm just going to omit them. We see that the hydrogens are actually bound to the oxygens, right? So when we're talking about these acidic bonds, right, that's combined with that oxygen. And same thing with nitric acid. Don't worry about these charges. We haven't quite learned what that means. You'll learn that as you go on through your chemistry career. Again, we have an OH type of bond. And when this acts as an acid, similar to our chlorine example, the electrons will go to the oxygen, and then you'll be left with just an H+ hanging out by itself, or if you're in aqueous solution, taken up by the water. For now, all you have to be able to do is identify if it's an acid and the type of acid. And then finally, we have organic acids. Organic, like organic chemistry, refers to carbon-based. And that's because all life is carbon-based. You yourself are a walking, talking bag of organic compounds and organic reactions. Note that this is not kind of what the pop culture term of organic is. So like, it's not like the food, right? If you like go to the grocery store and try to buy organic food, that doesn't have much to do with organic chemistry. Kind of does, but it's not the same thing. And it's kind of the opposite. In organic chemistry, we're actually the ones that make all the artificial pesticides and whatnot that organic foods don't use. So don't get it confused with organic food. It's a different topic, and it just basically means carbon-based because all life is based on carbons. And so the organic acids, by far the most common one is the carboxylic acid functional group. So this is a small part of the molecule that is acidic. And what it looks like, it has a carbon, and then this is just bound to some other part of the molecule, double bonded to an oxygen, singly bound to an oxygen that has a hydrogen on it. So again, what we're noticing is it's an OH bond, right? OH bond. And just like an acid, right, what would happen is that the electrons in this bond would both go to the oxygen, and then we'd be left with an H+. Again, don't have to really know that, but just to give you some context. So some common organic acids, one's acetic acid. This is the primary component in vinegar, right? So vinegar is like approximately 5% acetic acid, and then the rest of it is just water. Also note that these carboxylic acids can be abbreviated. So if you're given the chemical formula as COOH or CO2H, where this dash is just, there's something else, right? So maybe there's like a CH3 there, right? So this COOH or CO2H just indicates the presence of a carboxylic acid. Acetic acid is just a CH3 and then attached to our carboxylic acid motif. Right, again, that would be abbreviated as CH3CO2H or CH3COOH, whichever one you prefer. So that's a very common acid that you can drink and nothing really bad happens. Another one is citric acid. So that's found in citrus fruits, obviously. Right, so your oranges, limes, that kind of thing, and that's what gives it the acidic taste, because obviously it's an acid. So citric acid looks like this. It's a carbon, and then there's an OH. I'm going to omit all lone pairs. So these oxygens all have a number of lone pairs on them that I'm just not going to draw. And so we have one carboxylic acid over here in citric acid. Then we have a C with two hydrogens, and then we have another carboxylic acid group. And then over here, another CH2, and then another carboxylic acid group. So anyways, three types of acids: binary acids, two elements, oxy acids, hydrogen, some other element, bunch of oxygens, organic acids, COOH or CO2H.